All right, guys, we're trying out something a little different today. It's going to be another modern meta breakdown, but this time we're going to try doing a live recording of it too, just to help get some extra content over on the channel, see how it goes. If things go well with the live recording, then it's going to actually be a consistent thing. It'll still be uploaded on YouTube, of course, youtube.com/nanman, for all of those that are watching us live now. You can check out all the other VODs. This is week number 6 now, so we've done 5 other weeks featuring lots of different decks now. Last week we were talking about big dumb dudes in Modern, talking about Eldrazi. So this week we're going to talk about some more rude decks, but not as focused on the creatures aspect, not just big dumb dudes, just more of some other aspects of it. And I posted up on Reddit a couple weeks ago about one of a previous one, asking about some of the decks that people were playing. And one of the decks they had talked about is a deck that I enjoy playing. So I figured I'd pop up and talk a little bit about that one as our first one, which is 8-Rack. So for those that are not familiar, it's a pretty powerful deck with the aspect of disruption. Something that fits in nicely depending on what you're battling against, does really well against certain combo decks and things of that nature. As you can see, this is more of the tried and true classic 8-Rack style that you're going to run into. Now, why is it called 8-Rack? Well, it is because it runs 4 copies of the rack, which is a pretty sweet artifact here. It costs 1, so you can easily just throw that down initially. And then during each opponent's upkeep, it deals damage basically based on how many cards they have on their hand. So if they have no cards in their hand, they're going to take 3 damage. If they have 1 card in their hand, they're going to take 2. 3 cards in their hand, so on and so forth. So pretty sweet. That's the first part of it. The second part is Shrieking Affliction. If your opponent has 1 or fewer, they lose 3 life during their upkeep. So here's our 8-Rack aspect of it. There's 2 play sets of the rack and Shrieking Affliction in all of the lists that you're going to run into. The other aspect is, how are we going to get rid of their hand? What are we going to do in order to let those start getting their triggers going? Most of them runs a play set of Liliana. Again, the tried and true version does rock out this style. So there's Liliana the Veil. Sweet 3-drop Planeswalker. Great aspect to do some single target removal if need be, of making your opponent sack a creature if they only have 1 creature. Then, of course, each player discards a card. So if you lose a card from your hand, well, that's not that big a deal. You also run a 24 lands, so you can chip away a couple lands from time to time. And Richard joining us in chat. What's going on, Richard? So let's talk a little bit about the other disruption package that it's got. Play set of Thoughtseize, great set of removal. You'll lose 2 life for it, but being able to just have no restrictions on what you're going to be pulling off is nice. So you like having a play set of that. Of course, Inquisition is also a play set. Is having to be a 3 or less card that you strip away, so something to keep in mind. But they're basically wanting to have a turn 1 play of either an Inquisition of Thoughtseize or laying down Shrieking Affliction of the rack. So you have a very wide variety of stuff that you could drop down for 1 cost. Also has Raven's Crime in here, which is not a targeted discard spell. Your opponent is the one that chooses what they discard from their hand, but can be important if you're like, all right, here's my Inquisitions, here's my Thoughtseizes. Oh, I've stripped away all your stuff, and you're banking these lands in your hand. I can't take lands with Inquisition or Thoughtseize, but Raven's Crime makes them discard. And it's got Retrace, so you can discard lands from your hand to recast it from your graveyard there. So that is a nice little additional aspect in it. I think those are the main disruption package. Now there's 2 like bonus disruptions, if you will. Collective Brutality here. You see this list is running 4 of. Most of the time you are going to see at least 2 copies in people's list. Depends on how they really want to make their list. There are some flexibilities in it, but this does have the aspect to duress your opponent, take an instant or sorcery from it. Well, so it's not quite duress because you can get, more than that, get planeswalkers and stuff. But this one just gets instant or sorceries, but it does have, again, single target in there, makes a creature get -2/-2, gain some life off it, make your opponent lose some life, and, you know, just an overall solid card. The other one is Smallpox, which is a really sweet card. Double black, and you can see that when we get to lands, we'll go over that. But double black, each player loses a life, discards a card, sacks a creature, and sacks a land. So pretty sweet, just kind of blanket, hey, I'm going to do all the things. So additional removal that we have in this sort of package is the 4 of Fatal Push. Sometimes you'll see people run Dismembers. This version has decided to just put them in the board. But, you know, that's kind of the main style of it. Disrupt your hand, use the rack, Shrieking Affliction to deal damage. Does run Mutable in there for an extra push of damage, maybe an extra blocker in here, different aspects of that, but for the most part, you see 16 Swamps for Urborg. Again, the Urborg's there to help mana fix a little bit when you have Mutavaults and stuff like that. Richard's saying in the chat how Fatal Push is insane. It is. Now, the only other aspect to it is when you're running this version of it, you're not having any fetch lands, so you're not going to really be able to trigger Revolt unless you've already had Smallpox be activated, then you've had to sack a land. So for the most part, it is killing stuff that costs 2 or less. But if we think of something like Death Shadow, think of something, you know, that's very prevalent in our meta, most of the stuff that you're worried about does cost 2 or less. It's just if you're running into maybe a lot of Tron or Tron Eldrazi or Bant Eldrazi at your shop, maybe not run a full play set. And that's when you can adjust and go, you know what, I need some more Dismembers in the main board for my list. Sideboard does have a little bit more flexibility with it. Ratchet Bombs are very solid aspect of it. Dismembers are really good as well for just extra removal. You see some more disruptions with the Surgical. Hey, I've discarded some stuff. Well, I'm going to strip away all other copies so you won't have to worry about drawing those. Also, some more Graveyard. Hate Leyline of the Voids. If you're playing against those graveyard-based decks, that's a nice little addition here. Lost Legacy is another kind of addition to Surgical. You're just going to be naming a non-artifact, non-land card, strip away all other copies kind of thing. Pretty fun. Now, they also do end up drawing cards for each card exiled this way. So there is that aspect of it that you have to remember. So, hey, I've got my Shrieking Affliction in the rack. Well, you've done Lost Legacy. Guess what? You're not going to be getting triggers anytime soon because you stripped away 4 cards. They just drew 4 cards. So, something to keep in mind there. Dark Confidant is in this list because you saw all these low-cost spells. An extra creature, extra draws in there is something to consider. Now, there is another creature that some people do like to run besides Dark Confidant, which we will talk about next. When we talk about our second version, essentially, of 8-Rack. This is the more tried and true classic one. When you're going to be going to events, you're more likely to see this list be running around. But the other list is more creature-oriented. So our Silent Visitor is that other creature I was talking about that a lot of people like to run. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, if that player has no cards in hand, you draw a card and you lose life. So that actually works out nicely because it can trigger off your upkeep and your opponent's upkeep. Just lose life, draw a card. Seems nice. Does have that madness effect too. So if you're using Liliana and upticking, well, I'm just going to pay 2, discard it with madness, and now it's on the battlefield, which is pretty sweet. I actually ran 2 in my sideboard of my list when I was running 8-Rack. Augur of Skulls is a cool addition that this player's decided to go when he's gone for the more creature route. Colorless and a black for 1/1 with regenerate for 2. You can sack it, target player discards 2 cards, play this ability only during your upkeep. So that's, you know, a sweet effect to just kind of strip away 2 extra cards from your opponent's hand. Because he's got the additional creatures and a couple of different spells, he's opted for only 2 Lilianas for his list. That's okay. Because he also has the Ensnaring Bridges, which is a fine card to have in this list. Also fine just to have sideboard. If you don't have it, not that big a deal for it. But for the most part, you see it's got to have the 4-Rack, 4 Shrieking Affliction. This list is running the Funeral Charms in here. You can kill off a creature with it. +2, -1, make him discard a card, you get Swamp Walk. You notice that it would kill off your own creatures, so you're not going to be doing any like pumps off of that. It's just a kind of a, alright, -1 on that creature kind of thing. You know, make you discard a card. Just an extra discard effect. Does run the Surgical Main, likes that sort of disruption here. So Blackmail is a cool card that you'll see from time to time. And you see it's 2 of in this list. Some just really preference for that one. Target player reveals 3 cards from his or her hand. You choose one of them. That player discards that card. So, you know, just another kind of thing. Again, playset, Inquisitions, Raven's Crime, and only runs 2 Thoughtseizes. Feel like, oh, maybe his meta is more aggressive. That life is more important there. But is running Wrench Mine. So not as much affinity must be in his meta. I ran 2 in my list. I liked it a lot. Target player discards 2 cards from his or her hand unless he or she discards an artifact card. So again, against affinity, not really where you want to be. But so there is that to keep in mind. Other creature aspect that it's running, Pack Rat in the sideboard. So again, just a nice little addition. Drown in Sorrow though, or the what's the one that I can't even remember it. Basically does the same thing, but you don't get a scry. Flaying Tendrils does run those aspects to it. Sometimes you'll see the big board wipe damnation in there, but you know. So because this list has the creatures, because this list is running like Ensnaring Bridges and stuff like that, it is running all the Smallpox in the sideboard, which I was a big fan of having in the main board. But again, if you're going more of this sort of extra creature route and extra additions to it, you have that flexibility. And so that's what's nice about this 8-rack deck. It's really annoying to play against, and can do really well against a lot of decks that rely on building up their hand and taking their time to get set up, because you just kind of shred away all the stuff that they're trying to do and can just slowly, you know, burn them out. Even players that are rocking out Affinity or Burn or something like that and want to just dump their hand and go quick, that also benefits you if you have Shrieking Affliction and the rack. So Ensnaring Bridge is a nice one to have when you're playing against something like that. So those are the 8-rack decks that I wanted to talk about. The other 2 annoying decks, if you will, that's kind of the theme of this week, is let's talk about some annoying decks that you're going to see if you go to these bigger events. And this one's been popping up a little bit more at additional events. One of our players at our shop has actually been rocking it. Kind of the normal name for it is Red-Green Land Destruction, or Ponza, if you will. And again, this is the more normal one when you think of the land destruction list. It's going to be something along these lines here. So it is going to be running decent amount of creatures in here. Some ramp, Arbor Elf, you can untap your forest, Birds of Paradise, cool. Again, some ramp here. Also, it's going to be running out Courser of Crewfix, some life gain off it, pretty decent blocker overall. And then it ramps into bigger stuff here. You know, we've got Thragtusk, Obstinate Baloth to gain some life, pretty big bodies there. P and Kieran LR is, you know, 2/2, get some Thopters, some blockers with the, of course, Thopters, and you can fling them at your opponent for extra damage. And then we've got the big powerhouses, which would be our Stormbeth Dragon, which, hey, Path is very prevalent in Modern. Having a card that just says, no, your top removal spell is not going to work, sweet. That seems awesome. 4/4 flying, haste, protection from white, and you can monstrous as well, so that's a nice little addition. Inferno Titan is the other big dumb dude, essentially, that you can have to kind of end things with it. Costs 6 mana for a 6/6. When he enters the battlefield, deals 3 damage, divided as you choose among target creatures or players. And then, of course, whenever you attack, it does the same thing. So that is nice. You can also pump him up. He's got fire breathing. So you think, all right, those are some solid creatures, but what is the big deal about this deck? Well, the big deal is it runs playset of Blood Moon, so you're going to be shutting off a lot of people's lands, because a lot of people are trying out those 3-color lists and stuff like that. So having that in there is nice. Doesn't hurt you as much, even though we do see lots of fetches and stuff in the sideboard or in the main board. Does run 9 forests and 4 Utopian Sprawls. So you have to equip it onto a forest, but when you tap that forest for a mana, you add 1 mana of the chosen color to your mana pool. So you just, cool, I'm going to choose a color, even if it's, you know, green, red, whatever color you want to choose. You'll just get basically 2 mana off of 1 land when you have Utopian Sprawl there. So that's just a nice way to help your mana fixing when lands are getting blown up and things like that, or Blood Moon's out. So it does run Bonfire. You can see one of the few decks that does run it in Modern. Nice little miracle. You can just board wipe, deal some extra damage, things like that. The main land destructions and land disruptions besides Blood Moon, we've also got a play set of Stone Rain, just destroy target land for 3 mana. You know, you could be able to play it pretty quickly, depending on how your ramp is set up here. We also have the Acid Moss, which is a sweet card, cost 4, destroy a land, and you get to search your library for a forest. So you're like, well, hey, not only am I going to destroy one of your lands, I'm also going to ramp off of this as well. So nice little pick you up there. This list is running some Planeswalkers. Does run 2 Chandra in its list, 1 Nissa Vital Force, making one of your lands into a 5/5 is nice. Of course, Chandra, extra ramp, can deal some damage off her, so she's pretty sweet for 4. Don't necessarily have to run those. You can see you could easily run some other spells, other creatures in it. One thing you notice is there are no Lightning Bolts in this list. He is opting for Magma Jet and Bonfire to do a lot of that extra stuff that he needs. Beast Within is a nice card in case you need just a little bit of, like, troublesome Planeswalker, troublesome spell out there that, you know, say you're playing against Infect, he's pumped it up a little bit, well, now you have a 3/3 Beast. You know, there's little ways you can work around this here. Sideboards, again, you'll see some Lifelink in there, Kitchen Finks, Baloth, stuff like that. We've also got some Sudden Shocks, extra removal in there, Ancient Grudge, more removal here. Surgical you can opt for, Anger of the Gods, again, really sweet card. So a lot of the stuff that you'd expect to see for life gain, extra removal, pretty much placed in the sideboard. Does have some graveyard hate with Surgical, with Relics, things like that. But it's a nice deck if you like destroying lands. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do with this deck, and a lot of ways that you can tweak it. But this is the more tried and true classic style of the red-green Ponza, red-green land destruction. And then I want to show you kind of the new style of it, which is a fun way to do. I've seen some people testing it out and trying out. So you can see, well, alright, seems pretty normal. If we look at our spells, it's pretty much the same spells, more or less, with one exception. So we're going to talk, yep, Blood Moon, Utopian Sprawl, cool, Beast Within, Bonfire, cool, Acid Moss, Primal Command, gain some life, get a creature, awesome, play set of Stone Rain, makes sense, okay, we got the Thragtusk, Inferno Titan, yep, Bird's Paradise, Arbor Elf, very cool, normal stuff. There are 6 cards in this list that are very different from the other list. Madcap Experiment, one of our Aether Revolt cards, again, talking about how much of an impact Aether Revolt had on Modern. In almost every Modern meta spotlight that we've done so far, we've talked about at least one Aether Revolt card each week. I think there's been maybe 1 week or 2 that we haven't yet, but we've talked at least about some taking a pretty decent impact into a lot of the meta right now. So, cost 4, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal an artifact card. Guess what? There's only 1 artifact card in this main list here. Should be in the whole list, but until you reveal an artifact card, put that card onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Madcap deals damage to you equal to the number of cards revealed. Well, you don't want to die because you only have 1 artifact in here, so how do you stop yourself from dying? Well, you happen to run 2 Platinum Imperiums here. Cost 8 for an 8/8, but your life total can't change. So you say, Madcap Experiment, reveal until I find Platinum Imperium. Now I have an 8/8 on the battlefield. My life can't change. Good luck dealing with this. Pass turn. Okay, cool. You have no answer. Sweet. My turn. Swing 8. How many times are you going to have blockers available? Especially since I'm blowing up your lands with Stone Rain, making all of your non-basics in the mountains. You're not going to be set up in a good position there. So that's a nice little fun aspect that some players are trying out in this Ponza list, or just in Modern in general. I think it's a really fun way to go about things with Madcap Experiment, since it's such a sweet card to build around. Now, the sideboard side, again, very similar to what we expect. life gain with, our, of course, our Baloth here. Got some extra removal, Sudden Shock, Anger of the God. This one's even running Fire Spout in there, but does have an extra Primal Command in here. And the double Storm Breath Dragon in there. So it's like, well, you have a lot of... You're running into a lot of Path to Exiles and stuff like that. Maybe you just say, okay, I'm done with the Madcap experiment. That was fun in game 1. You pathed away my Platinum Imperium. It was just kind of a waste. I'm going to switch up, and now I've got Storm Breath in here. And now you have no way to deal with that with your Path to Exile and your removal package. Additional removal that it's rocking out, Beast Within, Dismember, that sort of thing. Does only run the one Ancient Grudge. Feels fine with having the playset of, you know, the playsets of removals that he's got here. And another thing, I guess I kind of glanced over it. The Banefire, I thought it was Bonfire, but opted for the Banefire because it can't be countered if it's 5 or more, and if you can ramp up into it, it does really well. Another fun thing that this list is running is Kessig Wolf Run to give its one creature trample. We're talking about this Platinum Imperium, making him have trample. So just a little fun stuff, or even, you know, Inferno Titan if you want to go that route. But so that's kind of 2 different ways to build the same deck again. It is a little bit more expensive. It's not like the budget aspect of it because Blood Moon's in there, things like that. Now Blood Moon did get reprinted again, I believe, in Modern Masters 2017, so maybe you can find them a little bit cheaper. But it's got some old cards in here, some fun ways to do it. Madcap Experiment, new one. So depending on what route that you want to go for how rude you want to be, there's some fun decks out there for Modern that involve really disrupting your opponent and making them have a bad time. So if you want these kind of different decks, like these different colors to play, I would recommend picking up one of these lists because they are really fun to pilot and they really annoy your opponents there. So, but that's kind of the decks that we're going to talk about this week. Let me know what sort of decks that you guys are playing at home. I'd love to keep going over it. We still have lots of decks to talk about. I have a whole spreadsheet set up there with over 30 decks in Modern to talk about. Been trying to bounce around from different lists to go over each and every week. And as we maybe do this more for the live stuff, we might start adding extra stuff at the end for all of our viewers there. Of course, we are going to continue to upload it onto YouTube because, hey, that's what this thing started on, is YouTube. We wanted to make sure we had consistent weekly Magic content for you guys over on youtube.com/nanman. You know, just for some in-between stuff besides just our weekly Modern coverage that we do every single week. Of course, twitch.tv and youtube.com/Modern Magic Mondays will give you all of that weekly coverage that we have set up over there. Let me try to think about any other projects we got going on. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Really, that's the main stuff, guys. If you like what you see here, hit the follows, hit the subscribes, all that kind of good stuff. And we're going to slowly start adding more and more weekly content over to Twitch because we're trying to get as much diversity as we can for all of our viewers to continue to have a place to hang out and get Magic content there. So thanks so much for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you guys next game.